Other platform news: our friend Jeff Bakalar got his hands on an Xbox Series X prototype of sorts.
Yeah,
Not final hardware, some sort of debug, I believe, is the situation. But
yeah.
also,
It's a prototype unit on the back or something.
yes.
Yeah.
Also, no hands-on time with no exposure whatsoever to Series X games so far. It sounds like this was purely for backwards compatibility stuff. Back compat. There you go.
Yeah.
Back compat.
Bunch of he put up a video with Michael Hyam from GameSpot. There's other benchmarks out there as well on stuff.
I watched the Digital Foundry one. That's,
were they? I didn't really look too much. Like it seemed like they were more focused on frame rate and stuff for
totally
backwards.
And less resolution.
Yeah, and like Bakalar seemed like he was focusing more on the quick resume, suspend stuff, and the loading times and stuff like that. But I did see like there's basically they tested a bunch of Xbox One X games with unlocked for frame rates at 4K, and they were all just like locked 60 on this thing, where they were like struggling to get over 30 on the One X. So like obviously that stuff's pretty good. But
that's cool.
Yeah, exciting.
But some of that Bakalar footage, like they were switching between like Ori and Red Dead 2 in like 9-10 seconds or something.
Yeah.
Suspending one and then unsuspending the other and switching over to it, stuff like that. So like that stuff looks like it works pretty well.
I'm still not sure. I mean, it's just when I think about the way I play games and how I tend to only play one, maybe two, I don't know that doesn't sound like that big of a deal. I guess like I think that's one of those things that you're not going to know until you get it into your own home and integrate it into the way you play games. Sure. But just like looking at that stuff, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It seems like it works a lot better than the resume suspend stuff did on this generation of consoles. But
I really hope they just like wrote that stuff into the TCR or whatever, the technical requirements for game certification this time. Just like, hey, make sure that you handle like server disconnections gracefully when people suspend and stuff like that.
Yeah, the stuff that made that stuff bad last generation needs to be addressed. But like maybe that'll be a big surprise when I am using like final hardware and all that other stuff. It'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this actually matters. But like right now, looking at it, it seems so theoretical. Where it's like, yeah, this technically is super impressive.
Yeah,
and I don't want to deny that, but at the same time, like that doesn't seem like it integrates to the way I play games. I don't know if that's all that cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, the current
not a drop for me either. But
I could
the frame rate and stuff. I think that's really cool. That's
absolutely
Like I saw, it was like I forget which Dead or Alive, but I guess it was the newest one.
6, I think is what it is.
DOA 6, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, some other games that like Hitman that had unlocked frame rates that were pretty chunky on the One X, and they're all just like full performance. So that stuff's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It's like a continuation of what they did with the Xbox One X and all that stuff, where it's like, oh, by virtue of us finding ways to just have this apply to games in a broad sense, like they can just do it again with more power. Like that's neat.
They said 100% of Xbox One games work. Is that right?
I want to say they're like, are they saying that, or is it like one of those like 99%? Because I know the Sony stuff got real. So weird.
Yeah, there was that Eurogamer story last week that seemed to reaffirm the whole PS5, PS4
top 100 game stuff.
That like it's only the like the thing Cerny said, basically, that they seemed like they tried to walk back. Apparently, like now that's actually the case, that it's only the top 100 that are guaranteed on day one to be backwards compatible or something like that.
Well, plus like some number of games that are getting certed after a certain day. The same way the Pro was. Like there was a cutoff date for when before the PlayStation Pro came out, where they're like, hey, if you're sending your game in for cert as of this date, it needs to work on a Pro.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily need to work better on a Pro, but it can't work worse.
Right.
And I assume that they would do something similar with the PS5.
Yeah.
But also, I think they then kind of came out and said that they expect stuff to run like or like what is out there, like, because did they walk this back again and say actually
I feel like the Sony messaging has been so back and forth on so many things at this point that
it seems like what would happen is it will, like, more than that will work.
I think that's but not guaranteed.
You talk about guaranteed, like that sort of stuff is that's maybe a different story. I don't know. It's strange. and they should be better about messaging their stuff, because their stuff is fine.
Yeah,
because they're the ones that they're the ones that I got out there and said like, hey, top 99% of games should work and all the other stuff too.
Let's hope so.
So like this, kind of getting out there with the top 100 stuff again is weird, but I suspect when that thing comes out, that situation will be fine unless you play some small handful of games that don't work. Like, even around the name change stuff, remember that list of like, here's stuff that will straight up break. And then what was it? The weird combat driving game that came out last year. I can't remember the name of it now.
Came out last year. Onrush.
Onrush.
God, man.
That was on the list of like, hey, there's something broken about this if you change your name, and I changed my name and it seemed fine. So I don't, may even be a case where they're saying like, oh, we know that this 99% of games work, but at the end of the day, they're talking about like, oh, one texture doesn't load right in here, like I'm not. I guess the point being, I'm not concerned about the backwards compatibility stuff on PS5 for PS4. Yeah. I'm sure that'll work out and be fine. It's not.
Watching Bakalar's video, it looks like you can suspend 5 games at once on Series X.
Wasn't it a different number if they were 360 games or something like that?
I
think it was like as much as the RAM would hold.
Yeah, I would assume that would be the case because you're able to save way less memory out to disk. Stuff seems cool. Like I used Suspend to play through Last of Us 2 and all the hours I spent with Ghost of Tsushima. Like I think I didn't like. You ever? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends on if you guys use Resume, but you ever do that thing where it's like, oh, I just realized the first time I booted this game is still the only time I have booted this game. It's like the first time I started this, I have just been suspending that same session for the last 2 weeks.
I manually close games every time when I'm done because I don't want to lose saves. I don't trust it. I've been burned too many times by it that I have been like tasered into submission on that feature and just been like, I don't trust it. I don't want to fucking use it. Yep. I manually quit Xbox One games. I open the fucking menu, go down, hit quit, and all that stuff. Just I don't trust it. They've got a lot of rep to earn with this feature if they want me to
I get the paranoia, but single player only Sony first party games have been pretty good in my experience.
I'm sure.
So